just realised I left my... Have I got 2 seconds or no?
It will be sharing in a second, but if you want to.
Have I got 2 seconds or
no? Okay, so we're all good and ready to start.
Just left my phone in there.
Oh, okay. No, that's all good. So, just wanting to say hi to everybody who watches in today. Today we have Lorraine Brown joining us. So thanks so much, Lorraine, for joining us. So Lorraine previously trained as an actress and is about to complete her final year of a postgraduate diploma in psychodynamic counselling. So Uncoupling is her first novel, and the manuscript for which was longlisted for the Bath Novel Award in 2016. So thanks so much, Lorraine, for joining us. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about yourself or about Uncoupling?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me. So I live in London with my partner and my little boy. And when I was writing the book, I was working as a secretary during the day, and I used to go in my lunch hour and write Uncoupling. It was called something else then, in my sort of local bookshop. I had a little cafe in there, and I hated my job as a secretary. So I was like, oh God, imagine if I could get this book published. And then at the same time, I was doing this training to become a psychodynamic counsellor, which was really helpful, actually.
For writing the book, yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about those that don't know what a psychodynamic counsellor does?
Yeah, so basically it's a form of psychotherapy whereby you look back at somebody's childhood and past to kind of inform how they're behaving now and what their relationships are like now. So that was really helpful because it helped me really make my characters a bit more three-dimensional, I think. My early drafts hadn't been like that, but it made me really think about, what has Hannah been through, my protagonist? What has Leo been through? Why are they like this? So then I was writing my book, and it took me a long time to get an agent. It took me, ages. So as you mentioned, I was longlisted for the Bath Novel Award in 2016. I think I got my agent in 2019. So I'd had a lot of rejection, but just kept going and sort of tweaking it. Finally, my book was published this year on the 18th of February, and it's a very good lighting, but it's a modern love story that begins on a night train that gets separated in the night. So my main protagonist, Hannah, is separated from her boyfriend, Si, and she's supposed to be going to Amsterdam for a wedding, but instead she ends up in Paris, where she meets Leo, who's this kind of slightly annoying at first Parisian guy who persuades her to let him show her around his city. So much of the action takes place in Paris, and it's a lot about kind of secrets being revealed, Hannah working out who she is, what she wants from her life, and this kind of amazing connection that's forming with her and this Frenchman that she was, not expecting.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the book and like it takes you away from your life and is it called Uncoupling when the trains come apart? Is that what that's actually called? Or
yes, it may be different in Australia, but over here
I'd never even heard about. Like I wouldn't have even imagined something like that would happen.
Yeah.
So is it quite common?
Yeah, common-ish, and so you do sometimes have to think, am I on the right end of this train? That happened the other day. I took someone to get a train, and the front 6 coaches were going to one place, and then the rest of it were going somewhere else. So yeah, it's common-ish.
Yeah. And we've got a few people watching, which is great. Rachel said she loves the sound of it, this book. It sounds great. Kelly said she's loving the cover.
Oh, thank you.
So could you tell us how you got the idea of your book?
Yeah, the idea came actually from a story my brother told me, probably about, God, I don't know how long ago, 15 years or something. This is before I'd started writing. He and his girlfriend went interrailing. Do you know when you get like a pass and you can go on trains around Europe?
Okay, yeah.
And sort of a lot of young people do it. So he was interrailing around Europe, and he and his girlfriend were on a train at night, and they both are obsessed with sleep. So she got up in the middle of the night because it was too noisy in their carriage and moved, and the train did uncouple, separate.
Yeah.
and they ended up in different countries. But everything worked out fine for them. They found each other again, and they're still together. But even then, I was thinking, God, that'd make an amazing beginning to a film or a book. And so when I was writing this, I'd written one novel before this, and it had some good feedback, but the feedback had mainly been, this isn't a strong enough story. There's no hook. And so when I sat down to write Uncoupling, I got very serious about it. I just thought, well, okay, what is this hook they're talking about? And this popped into my mind, the idea of a train dividing and the fallout from that, I suppose.
Yeah. And Tony's wondering, Tony said the book sounds amazing, and she's wondering if you've travelled to the countries that feature in the book.
Yes, I have. So Paris I already knew quite well. Probably been about 9 times. And sort of different, been with sort of romantic trips. I've been with my little boy. I've been with friends. So, you get sort of different experience every time. And I did do a research trip, in fact 2, to Paris, because it's very easy from London to get there. It's like 2 hours on a train. And I also have been to Amsterdam 4 or 5 times, which is where the final few scenes take place. So yeah, they're 2 of my favourite cities.
Yeah.
I really, they were the first ones I thought of when I decided to write the book.
Yeah. And I liked the wedding part, the part about the wedding as well.
Yeah.
And the or the sister-in-law, she sounded a bit like a bit of a bridezilla.
Yeah, definitely. And that was, very much inspired by my experiences of weddings. I've been a bridesmaid 4 times.
Oh, okay.
Never a bride, may I just add. And there's always been some kind of drama in my experience. And so, I very much enjoyed writing that. All those kind of pent up emotions and alcohol and, it's just a recipe for disaster.
And you said that, like, you wrote this quite a long time ago and it took you a while to get an agent and then to get it published. How did you keep going, and did you feel like, did you have to change it a lot as you were going along and getting these rejections?
Yeah, I did change it because I sort of took on board what they said, I suppose. So actually the Bath Novel Award, they gave me some really good feedback that really changed the shape of the book. And then, each time I sort of sent it to an agent, and usually, to be honest, they didn't reply, or they'd give you a sort of standard no. If they ever did come back with anything constructive or, particular to the book, then I would, take that on board. And so, I was constantly changing it. And when I got my deal with Orion in the UK, with Hachette, I also got a deal in America at the same time, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But it meant I had 2 editors. And I think it's a very different market over there. I hadn't really, And so they were very much like, we want quintessential Paris. We want the Eiffel Tower. We want the Champs-Élysées. We want, we want that real romance of Paris, which I hadn't, really thought about, because for us in the UK, Paris is so close that it almost feels quite similar in a way. So yeah, lots of that had to go in sort of later drafts.
Yeah, to cater for the US.
Yeah.
Yeah. And could you tell us, how did you become a writer? Is it something that you always thought you wanted to be, or did it just suddenly come to you that you wanted to do that? Or?
I think I should have been earlier, but I was obsessed with being an actor. So when I was at school, I still remember getting really good feedback from my written work, my stories and stuff. But I was like so into performing arts, and I don't actually think I was very good at it. Well, not good enough. And so then I went to drama school when I was sort of in my 20s, and that was a tough year, to be honest. It was hardcore. Came out of drama school thinking, right, I know it's going to be difficult, but it's going to work out. And so for about 7 years, probably, I tried to be an actor, but I spent most of my time doing sort of temping, with secretarial stuff. And I was just getting really frustrated, because I think when you're acting, you're waiting for somebody to cast you in something, and you can't really do it on your own, in your bedroom. So then I thought, what could I do that's creative? And the only thing I could think of was writing. But I sort of thought, well, that's not easy either. That's a bit ridiculous. But I'll just try it, and did a course and loved it, and sort of went from there, really.
Yeah. So that one course was the only training that you did, or?
I did that one, which was a sort of beginner's creative writing. And then I did a novel writing course for 2 terms. I think that was it. Yeah, that was it. And that was quite nice, because out of that, we sort of formed a little writing group which went on for a little while until everybody had babies and kind of the group disbanded. But that was really nice, just getting used to reading out your own work, or having people critique it, that kind of thing.
And had you always been a big reader?
Yeah, always a big reader. I've got this memory of me and my mum going round to. We grew up in a really small town, but there were 2 libraries. So we go to one library and get 6 books out. I always remember them being hardbacks. Then went to another library, another 6 books. So I'd read these 12 books in like however long you have them out, 3 weeks. Yeah, no, I loved it. And also, it's when I was at school, I used to try and spend every lunchtime in the library. And I used to be reading these romance novels. I don't know if you have them there. They were called something like Sweet Dreams. They're American, I think, and they were like sort of young adult romances. I was obsessed with them as well. So.
And what do you find that you like reading now? And I'm just wondering if maybe there's anything you've read that you want to recommend to us.
Yeah. Well, I sort of tend to swing between reading rom-coms and psychological fiction. I might sort of alternate them. So at the moment I'm reading rereading actually, a rom-com by Miranda Dickinson called Our Story. I really love it. It's set in a TV writer's room, and it's about this sort of two-hander, so dual point of view, and about 2 people that meet and don't want to be together but are drawn together. That's really good. And then I've also just read My Best Friend's Murder by Polly Phillips, who's actually lives in Australia. She, I really recommend that. I really couldn't stop reading, couldn't stop turning the pages. So yeah, and I find when I'm reading psychological fiction, my writing actually becomes better, because somehow that sense of pace and kind of tension kind of infuses into my kind of my writing, and I find it really helps. Yeah.
And do you have any writers that inspire you? When I was reading your book, I probably thought a little bit about Sophie Kinsella.
Yeah, Sophie Kinsella. I mean, Marion Keyes for me has always been, my go-to. David Nichols as well, and Sally Rooney I love, although sadly I can't write quite like her. But I'd like to. Yeah, we just had Normal People on TV over here. I don't know if you've had it over there, and it was just
it has been, but I haven't.
Yeah, it was just brilliant. Like for me, that was just like the dream to write something like that. Yeah.
And could you see Uncoupling being a TV series or a movie? Have you had anyone?
Yeah. Well, actually, it's out with See, again, when you sort of get your sort of agent and things, you don't think about TV deals. I never had. But my agent has sent it out, and it's being sort of looked at by various film and TV companies, which is very exciting. But I think the industry is probably a bit weird at the moment, given what's going on. So I don't know if it will happen, or it may happen later.
Yeah. Maybe you could have your acting dreams fulfilled by acting in your own.
Yes, that's what I thought. And all my acting friends are like, you've got to get me a part in it. We'll all just have walk-on parts or something. Maybe sort of train stewards or something.
Kelly's saying what a great book for your debut, and she's wondering if you've started your next book.
Yes, I have, Kelly. Yeah, I've been working on that. So I wrote it during lockdown over here. I don't know, the months have just merged together now.
Yeah, you've had a reasonably long.
Yeah, long. Yeah. I think I wrote it in the summer, last summer. Wrote my first draft, and whereas Uncoupling is very much kind of the characters travel all across Europe. They're in Venice, they're in Paris, they're in Amsterdam. This book is set in London because I just couldn't. I don't know. I think because we were just like stuck in my flat. I couldn't really do justice to a story that was about travel and lovely locations. And also I love London, and I just thought, well, I think it's a cool place to set a book. So I have written it, and it's about 2 people that live opposite each other in a block of flats in Hampstead, and they first don't like each other, and they're kind of quite lonely, but they don't realise that actually what they need is each other, if they can just be brave enough to go for it.
And how long till that is able to be read?
That's coming out, I think, April 2022. So yeah, just finishing off the edits on that, and then we're trying to come up with a title. I'm really useless at coming up with titles. So I don't know, let's see what happens with that.
And So Uncoupling, was that your choice of the title, or did they change that later?
They changed that actually. So I'd originally called it the Paris Train,
Okay. Mm.
but they felt that it sounded too much like a sort of historical saga or something like that, a sort of
Oh,
wartime,
okay, yeah.
journey on a
Mm.
train. So, but we spent ages going back and forth, back and forth. I think one of the suggestions was Paris in the afternoon. And I was thinking, well,
Okay.
they're not in Paris
Yeah.
in the afternoon. It just went on and on. And then finally, they came out with Uncoupling, which actually my boyfriend had come up with months before. And I've been like,
Oh,
no,
really?
no, that wouldn't work. So, of course, he was very smug about it.
Yeah. Has he got any suggestions for your new novel?
Well, that's a good point. I need to ask him. I'm missing a trick here.
Yeah. Tony said she loved the author recommendations. Thank you for them. And could you tell us a little bit about your writing routine?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's difficult. I'm trying to think. It's so difficult to say because I was basically working as the secretary in the school up until March when we locked down, whenever that was, 2020. So my routine then would be go to my job at the school, lunchtime, rush up to the cafe, write for an hour, and then when I got back to my desk, sneakily type up what I'd written if I could. And then, maybe it's try and snatch hours here and there in the evenings or weekends. But then I gave up my job when I got my publishing deal. So I have a lot more time, but straight away we couldn't go anywhere because everything was locked down. So it's really difficult to say. At the moment, I've got a desk in my bedroom. I sit there. It's not the dream. What I really want to be doing is going to a coffee shop. That's where I write best. And actually, I really write well on the tube. I've only been on the tube twice this year, and not for very long. But actually, when I was commuting to work, I used to quite enjoy writing on the tube. Editing. I had to print out some pages and edit them.
Okay.
So I don't really have a that Sorry. Yeah, that wasn't really answering the question.
Do you have set times of the day that you like to write more?
For me, I like to get sort of admin bits out the way in the morning, or kind of distracting bits. And maybe do some social media, maybe reply to some emails, that kind of thing. Then once all that's done, probably by about 11 o'clock, then I like to write for a couple of hours, and then maybe another hour or two in the afternoon. But because I'm working on book 2 edits, I've been writing whenever I can, snatching time. So last night I was writing till 11:30 at night, for example, and then just kept falling asleep. I was supposed to have my book in before midnight and failed dismally. So I've got to finish that off after I finish this.
And could you tell us a little bit about the characters in your book? Do you use traits of people that you know, or some of your own traits?
Yeah, I definitely think there's some of my own traits in Hannah, who's my main character. She comes from a working class background, which is quite important to me, I think, because a lot of the rom-coms I read were, I don't know, you think about something like Bridget Jones, and she's actually very, privileged in the way that family was big house, and I wanted to reflect my background in the book. So she comes from a working class background. She doesn't quite know what she's doing with her career. She's stuck in this job she doesn't really enjoy. I think a lot of that came from me because I was doing that for years. And she's in the wrong relationships, which I can connect with in terms of stuff that's happened in the past. She thinks she should be with a certain type of man, but actually, that's not what ultimately makes her happy. So yeah, in terms of the other characters, I suppose I came up with Hannah first, and then thought about the types of characters that would challenge her the most, or that would create more tension in the story. So with Leo, I thought for him, wouldn't it be great if he was the sort of person that was really open and honest, and pulled that side out of her, because she's quite closed off. And she found it quite difficult at first when he kept asking these probing questions. But by the end of the story, you can see how she kind of opens up with him, and it's a new experience for her, and much more rewarding.
And what about your characters' names? How did you come up with their names?
Yeah, how did I come up with them? That's a good question. I think they just popped into my head, and I didn't think too much about them. There's a little boy downstairs from us that's half French called Leo. That's maybe where I got Leo from, thinking about it now. And I know lots of Hannahs. Hannah felt like a sort of name that could be lots of people I know, you know, a sort of everyday, kind of quite warm name. I liked it.
Mm. And do you have to do any research for your books?
Yeah, little bits and bobs. I mean, I spent ages looking at train timetables or trying to work out how long would it take them to get from here to here? Where could the train split? What would that mean? What time would they get in? And still, when I got my copy edits back, you know, somebody sort of checks it through for you. There were loads of things that I'd done wrong or missed out, or I might have a note saying, you said she gets to Gardiner at a certain time, but she couldn't have done that. She only got dropped off here at, oh my God, that took absolutely ages. And just, going back to Paris and doing some of the research, that was really helpful. Having the characters in my mind and thinking of, okay, where would they go? Where might they stop for a cake? Where might they have this conversation? And then I sort of write down a few notes, what I could see. And I think that really sort of helped bring it to life, hopefully, for the readers. Just those little details, sort of smells or, sounds, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And when you were going through the process of trying to get your first book published, did you have someone who really encouraged you to keep going during that time?
Yeah, lots of people actually. Well, I did the Bath Novel Award thing, but then the following year I applied for something with Penguin Random House, which is called Right Now. I don't know if you have it there, but it's a scheme to kind of launch the careers of writers that are underrepresented in the industry. So I applied for this, and there's a whole process. You got sort of whittled down, and then I ended up winning the competition. So in 2018, I think it was, I was mentored by an editor at Penguin for a year. And that was amazing, because that made you feel like a sort of proper writer. I suppose it gave me the confidence to think, well, I've won this competition, and thousands of people entered. So, maybe this is something I could do. And that kind of experience of working with an editor was really eye-opening, because I'd never really thought about what editors did, or, but they really help you kind of hone the story and think about character and think about plot and, all those things that you find a struggle yourself, perhaps.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Could you tell us, for you, what you think makes a good story?
What makes a good story? For me, it's got to have that page-turning element, I suppose. So how I was saying about the psychological thrillers do naturally, but I think it's important with other genres as well, that you want to get to the end of the chapter and you want to read more. So I really, think it's important for me to have that pace in a story, and I kind of want to have characters that I like as well. So I want to like them, but I want them to be not perfect. I want them to be, relatable and kind of think, oh God, yeah, I'd do that as well, or and so that I can really, get behind them and want the best for them. And also, well, for me, this is not something that makes a good story, but I really want a happy ending, or at least the hope of a happy ending. And I think especially in this climate with everything that's going on over here anyway, certainly it's worse over here, I suppose. But I want to read happy things at the moment, and I want to watch happy things on TV. I can't sort of watch all those dark dramas at the moment.
And have you found that you've got a good network now of author friends?
Yeah, that's really lovely. And that's something that I think maybe wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for lockdown.
Yeah.
Because I think maybe you've interviewed some of the other debut 20s, we're called, and we're a Facebook group. I sort of snuck in, even though I didn't debut until 2021. And there's also now a debut 21s group, so I'm in both groups. And we meet up once a week on Zoom, and we chat, and then we sort of support each other on social media, retweet things, and that feels really nice. We're all excited about the prospect of actually being able to meet in person, but it's weird to think these people that you've known for a year or whatever, and you're actually going to, I suppose it's like online dating. I've never done online dating, but I suppose it's like you build up a relationship, and then you meet them and you think, oh, am I going to like them as much, or I don't know, we'll see.
And do you like having someone read your work as you go along, or do you rather wait till the end? And
I'd rather wait. Because I think it's such a mess to begin with. Not like, I don't think I write really messy first drafts, but I wouldn't feel confident showing them halfway through. I feel like I want to write the whole thing, read the whole thing, think to myself, is this terrible? Is it workable? Retweak it and then send it.
Yeah, yeah.
In an ideal world, anyway.
Yeah. And can you tell people how they can keep up to date with you and what's going on with your books?
Yeah, definitely. So I have a website, which is lorrainebrownbooks.com. I'm on Twitter at lorrainebrown23. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Lorraine Brown Author. So yeah, it'd be great if you could follow me. And yeah, hopefully there's going to be hopefully a sort of cover and title reveal of book 2 quite soon. So
yeah, so we can look out for that.
Yeah, look out for that.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Just totally recommend Uncoupling if anyone wants a rom-com and something to take you away of your current happenings in your life.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, everyone, for watching.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, and thanks for everyone who asked some questions. And hopefully we might be able to talk to you again when your new book's out.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.